Hello and welcome to week 5 of the League of Barons. Tonight we have for your viewing pleasure Ezekiel McBrayer returning from last week's stream versus Scott Killingsworth. I'm joined tonight by my co-host Charlie Hicks.
Charlie.
Charlie, how you doing?
Doing well. How's everything going on your side of our Birmingham metro area?
Things are going pretty well. We're hoping
Excellent.
for some low ping and delay tonight. Charlie and I are both on the same side of the Birmingham metro area, so fewer cords for the electrons to travel through and all that.
Yeah. And just so that we can get that efficiency going, we've brought in some of our most far-flung characters. We've got Zeke out of Coleman and Scott out of Auburn.
Exactly. We wouldn't want things to be too efficient.
Absolutely not. We like to have a little spiciness.
So let's talk about these lists while they finish setting up. So why don't you break down what Zeke has for us?
Oh man, that is a great question. So Zeke definitely fancies a lot of scum, and he's got a really interesting list here. So we're looking at Tarani Kolda with R5TK, Contraband Cybernetics, Cluster Missiles, Munitions Failsafe, and Snapshot. And next to him supporting in the Seek Fighter, it's G4R GORVM. I don't know how to more efficiently say it than that.
Gargor.
Yeah, the I-0 droid in the Seek. It's equipped with auto blasters, and then we've also got Nomlum with auto blasters, Dengar, Contraband Cybernetics, and Punishing One for a nice little change, give him a little extra hitting power. And then he's also got Captain Justero with Contraband Cybernetics, Mag Pulse Warheads, and Munitions Failsafe. A very interesting list. Not a whole lot of things that you see whole hog and a lot of other lists. It's got some very interesting interactions. Tarani Kolda interaction, for the most part, we kind of have seen that before. I'm very interested in Nob Lum. Usually, you don't see him beefed out with Punishing One, so that's a nice little change of pace. And then Captain Justero, just trying to take advantage of some of those extra damage outside of an attack phase, trying to get a little extra damage to splash through.
Yeah, in particular, so Jostero is really looking to capitalize, I think, primarily on the Tarani Kolda ability to get
Exactly.
some extra damage there. But in addition to that, you also have Dengar Gunner here, who has the ability to deal damage outside of the attack phase. So those
Yeah,
are
so giving it a lot of extra windows of opportunity to get Justero's ability to really pay its worth.
yeah, and then we absolutely have the maximum number of possible ways that Tirani could proc his ability here. We've got R5TK, so he has the ability to shoot friendly ships. We have cluster missiles, so all he has to do is take a target lock, probably on Gargor, because Gargor is your preeminent blocker in this list, and get Gargor somewhere near the fight. Then he gets to fire the cluster missiles at Gargor, use munitions failsafe to say, oh, never mind, keep that charge, and then fire without the requirement of the lock at the target you wanted to fire at in the first place. And if he has any enemy ships in bullseye, that triggers his ability twice.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. And he's had a lot of experience running Kima Gillis fairly recently. He went to the Space Jam. Well, went to is a very relative term, but played in the Gold Squadron Space Jam tournament over the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
running Tarani with Cartel Executioner and Boba Fett. Did very well. So I think it was like 47th out of around 150 or so.
Yep.
So I mean, it's kind of like how Meatloaf says, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Well, Zeke's a little better than 2 out of 3.
All right, well, let's take a minute and go across the table and take a look at what Scott's brought for us tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't you break it
So
down for us here?
sure, on this side, we've got Hollow, and that's with Proud Tradition. Of course, we've Had plenty of discussion about how good Proud Tradition is on Hollow and all the flexibility that you can utilize out of that chassis, specifically with that shippability and that talent. And then also something that's been discussed, Muse also with Proud Tradition, but there's a little bit of a change here. So we're going with some steady firepower by putting advanced optics on there. And speaking of steady firepower and also time on target, he's got 3 Zeta Squadron survivors, each of them with advanced.
Yeah, this
So,
this list really, you get to shoot at whatever you want to shoot at all the time, right? Because you've
right,
got front and back arcs with the SFs. You've got Muse that can flip around and ditch the stress. You've got a Hollow that can flip around and ditch the stress. So it's very consistent time on target, very consistent damage output with advanced optics. Not terribly high damage output, so it does struggle against high agility targets, but we don't see very high agility across the table tonight, so it may not have to worry about that particular weakness.
yeah, Tarani definitely wants to get into the fight, but I don't think Tarani wants to actually go mano a mano with this much consistent firepower. All these 2 dice consistently hitting with that 1 agility. Uh, I mean, he's really only going to have 1 good solid engagement round, maybe 2, and then if they concentrate on him, like he's going to be out of the count real fast.
And one thing that does help Zeke in this matchup is that we can see that Scott has his ship set up in a block from the beginning, so it's going to be much easier for him to grab bullseye with Tirani whenever he wants it.
Absolutely.
Just point it over there and it'll catch something.
Right. It's just a question. I mean, when you're looking at something that can deal some really good damage, you're trying to see how much of that you can go ahead and lean into, especially if you've got higher initiative. And well, at least for half of his ships, he's going to be able to shoot ahead of these survivors. But the real question is, can you do anything with that? Can you get one of these guys off the table in time to help mitigate some of this? And I'm concerned that that's not the case. Like that's the if anything has been proven with second edition First Order, it's these SFs. They don't die fast enough.
Mm. Yeah, I think on the flip side there, Hollow, if flown too aggressively, can just evaporate. And so
Absolutely.
I think that Scott's goal coming into this engagement is going to have to be how can I utilize the flexibility and durability of these SFs to screen for Hollow so that he'll still be around later in the game when he needs the extra flexibility that he can get from the I5.
Absolutely. Conversely, what Zeke wants to do here is really close off all these avenues where Hollow could potentially be and take advantage of that action economy, taking advantage of being able to focus off of those sloops and the 5K and everything like that. Instrumental to that, I think, is going to be Nom Lump. You got to expect that Nom Lump coming in here, occupying so much space, is really going to help to close off all those pressure points and give give Scott very few options on where to really insert his ace.
So we can see dials appear to be down.
Looks like it. Of these cards. I'm always really interested in how much dumpster diving that Zeke does in the Scum faction. He just goes through and finds things, and you're like, I've never played that.
Mhm.
Um, I had toyed around with playing this I0 Seek for a while. I ran 7 Seeks last week in League. Had a fun time with that. But yeah, so this guy is basically just handing out crits. Like if he's getting shot at, that's a powerful disincentive because it's not just for friend or foe. I mean, it's to anybody and everybody too. It's not just limited to one or anything else. So That's really scary to throw that in the mix and just dare somebody to go ahead and take those range one shots.
Hmm. Yeah, he normally in these setups with kind of a scum salad, let's call it. You normally find Nomlum set up as the primary blocker. You know, he's I1 with a big base, just rush in there. Doesn't really care where his arc is pointed because it's going to be pointed at somebody by the end of the round anyway. But in this case, he's got himself set up with options. He'd actually rather block you with Gargor, but if he doesn't get that, then he's happy to block with Nomlum as well.
Absolutely. Now, the one thing that Scott can do to kind of take the pressure off of that is he can bend and not break, and really not have to be in these joust centric engagements with Gargor. So if Gargor jumps in and really tries to aggressively close the distance, force blocks and everything like that, SF chassis is so good. I mean, if he's kind of sniffed that out as a possibility, he just doesn't have to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition, the SF, you know, is carrying those three shields around. So if he has to take a round where he's eating a couple of crits in order to take Gargor off the table, that's not the worst option.
Absolutely.
Now, what we see here is he is setting up locks on Hollow at the beginning of the match with all of his ships in order to be able to pass them off using Hollow's ability later on if he doesn't want to pass off a different kind of token. Now, this is a somewhat contested ruling, or at least debated, but for the purposes of tonight, the ruling is that Hollow can transfer um, red lock tokens to friendly ships.
Okay. So kind of using the old chopper maneuver, I guess, to great effect.
Yeah,
So
very very similar.
that that's a very great little option there. I like that. And we see Zeke over here, very comfortable with that medium base. Like I mean, a lot of people get into these spatial gymnastics trying to figure out like how to slot the medium base in, especially if you've got mixed company with a large base, small base, and everything like that. Zeke's had a lot of time to really figure out some of that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's airtight with it, but I don't expect him to make a lot of mistakes in judging those distances.
And here we see Zeke following up with the pattern of taking a lock on his own ship in the first round. We see Tirani going ahead and grabbing a lock on Gargor. And again, that's to set up the cluster missile interaction with R5TK so that he can target his own ship in order to proc that bullseye effect and be able to shoot cluster missiles at whatever he wants that's near Gargor.
Yeah, it's just some very clever interactions and mechanics.
Now, taking a look at Zeke's list, the highest initiative pilot is Tirani at initiative 4, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Yeah. So Hollow is definitely going to have the final move here for the whole game and be able to use its potentially double reposition to advantage.
Absolutely. Now, the one thing that's going to be very interesting, I mean, you pretty much have to expect that Scott is probably looking to land the haymaker on Tirani, because there's two ships in this list that you just really don't want to deal with if you don't have to. Now, if you can snipe and take pot shots at Gargor, go right ahead. But you really don't want your list shooting Nomlum at this point in time. Not really, especially not with Punishing One.
Well, Punishing One, coming back to the Punishing One choice, that's very interesting because with Namlum's ability, you know, Namlum doesn't always control where Namlum's arc is pointed, right? So you've
Correct.
got the auto blasters out the front to mitigate that ability. That's what we've been seeing jump masters run with is some sort of cannon to guarantee they always have a front arc, no matter where the mobile arc is pointed. But then when you look at punishing one, it requires that you perform a primary attack, which is only the turret, and the defender has to be in your front arc. So there are a couple of scenarios in which this works. One, of course, is if the mobile arc is pointed out the front. That's guaranteed. You'll get the extra die from punishing one. The other scenario is that if it's pointed out the side and the ship you're shooting at is on your arc line so that it straddles the side arc and the front arc, you can actually fire the primary out the side, but they are in your front arc, so you get the extra die there.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting interaction. Definitely a big change from first edition.
So it looks like he's pulling in his ships in order to kind of form up behind Gargor as the tip of the spear, so to speak.
Right. So it's we basically like what we said before. Gargoyle is the aggressive block, and then you've got Nom playing insurance. Now, one other thing to keep in mind too is the positioning here, because Nom is in a position, not necessarily an ideal position, but if Scott commits early with Muse, which I doubt that he will, um, then Nom's in a good position to be there and to at least close off some valves and everything like that if the need arises.
Yeah, it looks like in general you have Zeke committing to an engagement in the center of the board, kind of where this nice open area is and amongst the asteroids, and you've got Scott kind of breaking out into three different prongs. You've got Muse coming out on the wide flank. You've got Hollow maybe looking to come up the middle, maybe being a little more patient than that. But then you've also got the three SFs coming up the other prong as kind of the main bludgeoning force.
Right.
So
Now, I like them kind of going in this triple stack right here, and especially with that mobile arc, because that's going to let you you can get that frontal joust if you want it, and then your front two wings can peel off, and your third guy can really get in somebody's face.
yeah, one nice thing about stacking up kind of in a line like that is that these SFs, unlike TIFOs, they've got that one straight, right? So if you're up in a line like this, then that red SF is most likely blocking anything from trying to come in and block the zone that the green one in back would be moving into with a one straight in a lot of
Absolutely.
situations.
Now, if you'll notice too, where Kolda's bullseye is pointing, he's right down that stack, just breathing down its neck. All right, so we're looking at Hollow making one of the millions of possible decisions that Hollow can make. Again, not particularly inclined to do any one of them. So thus the beauty of Hollow.
So I was taking a look at the bullseye angle for Tirani, and it looks like currently he's missing the entire group of SFs. So
Ah,
with that being the
so he,
case, he's looking at maybe a bank to try to line up um, bullseye on Muse, or he's looking to do a straight and then barrel roll to line up bullseye on the SFs, or even hollow if he could catch it.
right. I think probably the barrel roll option is probably the most likely of these. Because I could very easily see this could be the five straight turn for Gargor. And then from there, Tarani could very easily do a two straight and trim that however they need to. Justero's just happy to be there, and Lom Lom just comes up in the pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. Now this barrel roll boost for Scott out of hollow, I'm not very pleased with that boost because it puts hollow really forward on this next turn where engagement is really likely. And so I think his best bet here at this point is to maybe do a one bank with hollow to try to keep range and then just jump the SFs over him really fast.
Right. It's either a one bank or a five straight, and that's a huge gamble
Yeah.
because I mean, if you're thinking that he's going to use that speed and really just turn it on you and try to get past that bullseye possibility, then it's not outside the realm of possibility that Tarani takes a one bank and can very easily control that side of the board. Yeah, I agree. I think he was much more in a non-committal, controlling position when he was kind of at Muse's hip over here. So like this is a little bit too committal for my taste.
Looks like
Joel laying
they're.
down the wall on the round counter.
Yeah, I sent him a message to keep up with the round counter. So it looks like we are in planning of round 3.
All right, so over under. You think this is the turn that Gargor goes all in?
I like the idea of Gargor and Joustero jetting in, and then Tarani has room for that barrel roll if he goes slow.
Right.
Now, the interestingly enough, the thing that might just complicate that whole scheme is what is Namlam going to do here? He rotated his arc, and so he has stress, right? But
Right. You can't clear that with a one bank.
right, you can't follow the trajectory that you want to into the fight and clear that stress. So, what exactly Namlam is going to end up doing here is going to be interesting to see.
You may just want to take the one bank and just have yourself pointed in a better direction to where you can shed stress next turn. But yeah, I agree. I think turning the bank with or turning the gun at that point might have been a little premature.
Looks like
Everyone's set.
he made a
Of course,
making a last minute second guess with Gargor's move here.
I'm always a big fan of looking at everybody's little mise en place, like the way that they keep their game state. And Zeke's got a really interesting one with this little stack of dials over here on the side.
And he's got them arranged in initiative order. So he's got Gargor followed by Namlum, followed by Jastero, followed by Kulda.
Here we go.
All
Did
right.
the 4 instead of the 5? Okay. He may be concerned about overcommitting on these SFs and having them just bank past him.
Mm.
I mean, still very, very easily falls within the realm of possibilities for him.
Oh, so we see a contraband cybernetics pop on Namlam,
Oh wow.
doing a red
Okay.
too hard. So he's going to pick up another stress for that, but he can still take actions.
Yep. Takes the focus.
So that's unfortunate for Zeke on a couple of levels. One, because he is now double stressed on Namlam. It's going to take him a little while before he gets another action, and also he no longer has that contraband cybernetics toy to use at a later time.
Right. But I will say, being the devil's advocate, he's now aligned on the correct side of engagement. So if he needs to start shedding the stress, he's got a one bank in his future for the next turn, probably another one bank again, or maybe even like a one or two hard. So he's in that spot where he can get his action economy back quickly enough.
Mm.
But yeah, I really think this all just kind of spawned from his decision to turn the gun prematurely.
Here we see Scott kind of peeling off the SFs, not wanting to approach the main body of the enemy directly. With the red one, we can see him taking a turn away to take advantage of that rear arc.
Yeah, that's pretty prudent.
Looks like we have another 4 straight coming out of Jostero, coming in to just duke it out with the opposing main force.
So now we've basically established that Tarani's doing a 1 straight. That's gonna give him his escape vector and everything like that to kind of trim for the bullseye. I mean, there's a possibility he could have gone all in, but if you're setting those guys up like that, I can't imagine that you wouldn't.
Now on the 1 straight, it looks like Scott will have managed to keep all of his ships far enough away from Gargor that we're not going to see the 2 straight.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think all of Scott's ships are out of range 1 of Gargor, so we're not going to see the double bullseye proc with the cluster missiles trick this turn.
So this is more than likely an ideal time to just go ahead and unload your shots on Gargor. It's free real estate. You just start putting crits on all of his friends because I think Gargor has everybody else in Zeke's list at range 1 right now.
So it looks like Tarani definitely has the yellow Zeta Squadron Survivor in bullseye. So we're going to potentially see cluster missiles into red and then yellow to try to double tap the ability on yellow instead of using Gargor as the patsy, so to speak. Now looking at Gargor's ability, you are correct. It is each other ship at range 0 suffers 1 crit damage. So if Scott realizes that and he just pours all shots into
Oh, it looks like he
Gargor,
did.
that's
Now the
going to
question
be...
is, does he believe that Hollow is outside of range 1? That's close.
Now, Hollow doesn't care about being outside of range 1 of Gargor. So, oh no, I see. For Gargor's ability, I was still thinking
Right.
cluster missiles, but yeah. So that's definitely a tricky proposition because he can proc Gargor's ability 4 times this round.
Yes.
Which oh, there we have it. Outside range 1.
Oh man, Gargor done for.
Well, Jostero done for.
Also true. What if they just signed a suicide pact? How about that?
All right. So it looks like we
Oh,
have an excellent opening salvo from Hollow.
go ahead and spin the lock. And that's what he's doing. Okay, you don't care about that. The ability goes off when he defends. Doesn't
Yep.
matter if damage goes through. Now, is it to Gargor himself that happens to? Each other ship, so not
Yep.
Gargor. But
So Gargor is going to
could either
spend the
be
focus, block
and
both,
everyone
but
else
everyone
take.
at range 1 of him is going to take a crit.
I love it. This is so spicy. Such a scum thing to do.
I want you to go over there and remind them that that's happening because that's not optional.
Oh, hang on. Let me figure out how to do that.
Here, I'll move you.
Uh, okay. My bad. Okay.
Now you
Yep, I reached the same conclusion just as y'all were talking about it. That's
Never
range
mind.
range
Never
0,
mind.
not range 1. Learn to
God,
read.
you could. You know what? I don't have to read. It's quarantine.
That ability was started really ridiculous.
All of a sudden, his name is Liability. Just do what you want. Let, let God sort it out. It'll be okay. Yeah, we'll have everybody being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you got that wrong." Sorry, guys. I've never flown Gargor. I thought about it. Obviously, like if I had misread it at the time I was thinking about it, I would have made him an auto include.
All right, so it looks like we have missiles from Tyranny Kulda to the red survivor. 2 hits into 2 evades.
Yeah, seems good.
Now he has range 3 to the yellow, so that is outside the cluster missile's range. And the only requirement they're allowed to ignore is the lock requirement, so he's not going to be able to double tap with those missiles.
Mm.
And it looks like the yellow Zeta Squadron did spend his focus in order to avoid the auto damage from Kulda.
Yeah, auto damage is bad.
Looks like
What
they
is the
are ignoring. Okay, so let's go and talk to them about this again.
indeed?
The trigger.
He was trying to see. He was trying to see if he could get hollow.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So while you're here,
Yes.
I just rolled for the second.
Nope.
All right, so rules sorted. No follow-up shot from the cluster missiles.
Okay. So that is a little concerning on Zeke's side. So obviously, this was the turn in which to unleash with Tirani. So at this point, it's definitely got to be concerned for getting follow up blocked, especially because if Yellow is doing the blocking, he can just lay into Just Arrow or to Gargor. But you've also got this return fire that's about to start coming in. But first, we've got Just Arrow. Okay, so hit focus. Spending for 2. And Survivor. Looks like probably taking 2 damage.
Yep. So yellow is up to 3 shields gone.
Yep. So first points to Zeke.
Though I wonder if that first shield shouldn't have been taken off. With if that was a result of the second Tirani shot that never actually happened.
It's a good question. I can jump in and check.
Yeah, just go check it out.
Okay. And yeet me over there. All right, everything's solved.
Yeah, so yellow actually barrel rolled. We are just about caught back up. So there was no focus spend on Tarani's initial trigger. So that was 1 damage, triggering Jostro's ability for the first attack. And then there was a follow-up attack, which did no additional damage.
Yep, that's scum for you, clear as mud.
So here we start to see the Initiative 2 barrage coming down, looking like more shots on Gargor.
Yep.
Dealing 1 shield. So
That's,
it's going to be a range 3 from green into Tarani.
I bet he does 2 damage.
That's going to be a focus spend with advanced optics for a hit crit.
Yep.
And Tarani Natty's out.
Tarani the ace.
Looks like yellow firing range 2 into Gargor. No token to mod with, so just 1 crit.
And
Ooh.
crit goes.
Gargor takes the crit, and it is direct hit.
Direct. All right, so points reciprocated. And of course he would take the crit because Gargor deals crits at range 0.
Yes. All right, here we go. Muse looks like another range 2 shot into Gargor, looking to take him out before he has a chance to fire.
Hey, Joel.
Yep.
I bet he deals 2 damage.
Pretty safe bet.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are with an optic spend for hit crit once again.
And since Gargor applies crits at range 0, that crit's going through.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, so
And
hit
also
crit on Gargor for the kill.
Stunning. Simply stunning. And also stun pilot.
So here we have, it's like a range 2 into Muse out the front, potentially.
Yep.
But here we see that he clearly does not have the side arc pointed at Muse, so we're not looking at extra dice, but he still rolls 3.
Let's jump.
Oh no, he's pulling 1 to the side, so he rolled 2.
Okay.
2 crits.
Cool, 2 crits.
Doesn't matter. Muse evades it easily.
Yep. Okay, so slightly better first round for Scott than Zeke. Now, leaning into this next round of combat, this definitely is kind of highlighting my concerns for Zeke coming into this, because now Tarani is running out of arrows in the quiver, and you're about to start having these SFs just peel off and just kind of flow around and basically make his gun irrelevant, unless he wants to take the 4K, because you can dollars to donuts. Zeta 2 is going to jump in here and he's going to try to force the block. And if he doesn't, that's fine. He's just going to turn his gun to the back and take a pot shot at Just Arrow or possibly Tarani if he belts over him and everything like that. This is going to get a little concerning. Now, one thing, silver lining wise, that he can look at, I still don't like Hollow's position. That's still fairly dangerous, especially with Lom Num right here, being able to just kind of throw that large base around and get a good block in. So he's not out of the woodworks yet on this.
Well, let's take a look at the Tie Baron dial here. It
Indeed,
has a 5K turn option,
absolutely does.
which I think is going to be what we see out of him this round.
That would make the most sense to go ahead and use that. Now, what you also want to make sure you're doing, just to get the maximum utility out of that, you want to make sure that your buddy Muse is still somewhere in the neighborhood. So expect in this situation, uh, I would not be surprised to see Muse do maybe a 3 bank, just coming in here to kind of get the side of Tirani. Uh, Now the only problem with that is that you've got Nom Lum coming over here to gum up the works. Which, I mean, if Muse gets blocked, there are worse crimes in the world. You're still able to enable uh, Hollow basically to do whatever Hollow wants to do.
Well,
So it's not
you don't even need Muse to be there, because Hollow is going to be passing off that stress to whoever happens to be in range 2.
That's
Um,
true. That's true. Which, I mean, at that point, Zeta 2 is probably an ideal candidate because Zeta 2 is going just about as.
yeah, the yellow Zeta really wants to get in there, get a block on something to be taking less shots this round, as it was the one that took the beating coming into this round, and that will
Absolutely.
probably, because the 5 speed maneuver stick is a range 2. It's the same distance. And so you only have to get that yellow Zeta in just a little bit in order to make sure you're range 2 of Hollow's final position if he does take the 5K.
Absolutely.
And with Proud Tradition, Hollow will be able to take the focus on that maneuver, which is part of the strength of the list.
Absolutely. So I'm really curious to see where Muse goes in this still.
Yeah,
I
Muse.
mean, obviously, doesn't need to be the supporting cast in this. Uh, I I mean, if he gets blocked by Numlum, is that the end of the world, really?
It isn't, because even if he attempts, say he attempts the 2 Segnor's loop towards Nam Lum, and that doesn't clear Nam Lum's final position.
Right. He'll just lose the
He'll
stress.
he'll just lose his own stress and then successfully do it the following turn.
Absolutely.
Which I think that 2 sloop away from the main body of the fight is really what he wants to do. It's just a matter of whether or not Namlum will let him.
Right. That's tactically strong. I could definitely see that being ideal. I again still don't hate the 3 bank coming in there. It might be aggressive, uh, but just throwing Muse in there to get at the side of Tirani is not a bad idea if you
Mm.
just want to pour it on Tirani and get rid of him this turn.
Well, I think Namlum is the only one of Zeke's ships that is not really in a position to fall into the kill box this round.
Right.
But either Tirani or Jostero could potentially be prime targets here.
So I imagine with Red Zeta, we're probably going to get a 1 straight out of that. Just turn the gun, um, and then probably we're going fast with Yellow Zeta. Now Green Zeta, I could see probably maybe a 2 bank, maybe even a 1 bank. I'm not. I mean, there's a little play there,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the other ones are pretty set in stone.
Well, he's got a strain on the green one from the previous turn. So here we see 2 hard out of Namlum, retaining both of his stress. Sitting there, we've got 3 straight out of Muse, does not clear Namlum's base.
We're not sad about that.
But we see Zeke here just
There's a
trying to
1 straight.
get Namlum up into Scott's business as much as possible with that big base blocking we were talking about earlier.
Okay, that I was not expecting. So we might actually be seeing a 3 bank out of green then.
So we saw
You can
two
turn the
bank
gun.
out of there. Green still has a strain, so I would expect a blue maneuver out of him.
That's true. So maybe a one bank then.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. I mean, he's still going to probably have all guns on Tarani in a bad way.
I think, yeah, so you've already got a good shot out the back with red with a focus. You've got yellow ready to shoot anything that perhaps overshoots him. He's either blocking or he's getting a good shot from behind. And then you've got green. Looks like they are trying to determine snapshot trigger here.
Oh, he missed for yeah.
Yeah, so he managed to scoot into range 1 of Tarani, so no snapshot trigger there.
But they don't forget for green though. That's one way to do it. Just permanently keep up your firing arc.
Yeah, looks like he didn't want to do it for red, so missed his opportunity. And yellow jumped in. Green coming in, and he clips it. So we're going to see a snapshot trigger here potentially.
Now, here's a question.
Hmm.
Do you remove the strain before snapshot triggers?
I believe the answer is yes, and they have done so.
Okay.
Because the snapshot triggers after the maneuver is completed, and strain is removed as part of the check stress step.
That makes sense. That's why I asked you, because you're the authority.
So we have a whiff on the snapshot, no bullseye for extra damage, and the green SF takes his focus. Joustero getting blocked by the aggressive yellow SF maneuver. Ooh. Double prize. Yellow SF blocking both Joustero and Tarani.
And it's probably about to get lit up by the aforementioned 5K from Hollow.
And there it
And
is.
here, boom.
Ah, thing of beauty.
Hmm.
And as long as he does not shoot at Nomlum, no one will have arc on him.
You know what? I bet he doesn't shoot at Nomlum.
And in this case, since Muse is not sitting on any stress, it is a perfect opportunity to pass that stress to Muse, and Muse just makes it go away.
What stress?
And there we see it disappear.
That stress is gone, like all of our 401.
So here we have any range 1 shot we want. Looks like we're going into Tarani.
Seems good.
So 4 dice out of Hollow into the 1 defense die for Tarani. Oh.
Seems very good.
Yeah, that focus spend puts it up to 3 hits and a crit. And that is 4 damage onto Tarani. Eats through the shields.
And on the crit, we have half points coming in. Oh.
That is Blinded Pilot.
Now Tarani trying to get a little revenge. Misses the bullseye, but does have range 1 on green.
So that'll be 4 into 2. No mods on the attack. But a good roll. 2 hits and a crit.
Seems good. Also seems good when you roll 2 eyeballs and can convert.
Yep.
So 1 sheet.
That was an unhurt SF, so not really worried about that.
So Justero probably trying to chip into the same target to try to prize half points away.
Yeah, red is unhurt. Green would be probably the logical target here.
Yep.
Range 2 either way. Green also does not have any defensive mods left. 1 hit.
And natties. Yeah, so not getting any help from the dice, unfortunately. And once you don't have any shot modification, that becomes kind of an uphill struggle.
It does. So things that these SFs really excel at is, bringing in the guarantee of health over the fickleness of dice. So now we have the deluge of initiative 2 shots. Oh, we have a perfectly cocked die, looks like.
It is, however, it depends on how they're ruling it, because one thing that somebody had pointed out to me on TTS, and I'm actually kind of curious on where you stand on this. If you mouse over the die,
Yeah.
it will show you a single result.
Yep, it says I, blank or I, and then if I hold Alt to get a large image of it, it's a focus. So that is a result. And you don't have to worry about all the cocked or uncocked talk. So
Well, now that's a feature, not a bug. I want to put my face against the table. I want to get JFK on this, back into the left, back into the left. I'm trying to recreate real life, Joel. Don't take this away from me.
Looks like we get 2 more damage into Tirani out of the green SF, one of which is a crit.
Hull breach.
Ooh, that is bad news for Tirani, who is sitting on 3 hull remaining, all of which could be face-up cards.
Absolutely.
Now he's only facing 1 more shot this round from the red SF.
Right, but you know what? I bet he rolls 2 hits. Oh, no, he might actually roll 3.
Oh, yep, we're looking at a
It's a range
range 1 shot. Oh, 3 hits.
The 2 are coming in as crits for sure.
And that's it for Tirani. This is tough.
So first crit is fuel leak. Ooh.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Crit
no.
chain. So
Here it comes.
here's the regular one.
Disabled.
And then you've got fuel leak.
Flip
Damage.
fuel leak down and then flip up the damage.
And at this point, does it even matter? They're
Just
asking.
play
Panic
33
pilot.
card pickup.
Yep. So Tirani is toast.
Our audience in the chat is marveling at the spontaneous ooze after the hull breach. So yeah, I mean everybody. It's the same sort of thing. Like you would hear hull breach, and then you start hearing damage come in and fuel leak, and then like everybody's head starts turning. You're like, all right, how many cards are going to get dealt? I want to see 10 cards on this TIE fighter. I don't know why I want to see it, but I do. So yeah, everybody likes a little gratuitous violence. It doesn't change the outcome of the game. Tirani's as dead as it would be if it went exactly up to hull, but we all want to see how big a crit chain can happen. So more power to you. All right, so that is definitely a concern coming in here for Zeke. So he's got Jostero, who is in a position to engage with Zeta 1, with the red Zeta over here, but probably not in a position to really do much to anybody else. But before we do that, let's not get too hasty. We've got 1 shot left coming in with Nom.
So Nom into the wounded yellow for nothing. Blank and 2 focuses without modification.
Yeah. So this is where it comes down to what you were saying about the shedding of the stress and time, and obviously time has run out for Zeke. He needs that modification.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the butterfly effect. Coming in here, turning that gun has just amplified his lack of action economy coming into this engagement to the point where, I mean, we're probably going to get some sort of a bank out of him this next turn just to get rid of that stress.
Mm-hmm.
But it's quickly becoming a real problem for him. I mean,
Yeah.
this is and especially with Jostero's move effectively set in stone. Uh, he's in trouble because you would expect Hollow in this turn. Hollow is probably going to do a one hard. There's nothing that's really going to stop Hollow from doing that unless Nomlum just decides to. Well, actually, no. I don't think there is anything that would stop a one hard from occurring.
Alternatively, Hollow could be looking to repeat his success from the last round and do a 2 sloop over here to the other side of Namlam.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty good when you can just be a TIE defender whenever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Muse has some difficult choices here. I think we may see a hard 2 right out of Muse. It doesn't really have space to do the 4K or the 2 sloop really in either direction.
Right.
So we may see a 3 sloop out of the yellow, or maybe just a 4 straight to get some distance, and then Muse coming into that same space for the block with a 2 hard. Probably some sort of a bank out of the green to get, over into this open area near the small rock in order to threaten with the rear arc.
Absolutely.
And then red
Yeah.
just has to turn around to start making his way back towards the fight.
Yeah. I also wouldn't hate doing. Let me see. Yeah, you could probably squeeze a one bank in there. I mean that gets a little spicy, but I mean probably safer bet to just 2 hard, then 2 hard next turn, be in the fight. Now, what'll be interesting to see is what if okay. So the
one bank, and he just decides that he's going to stay here. There's not really anywhere for him to go this round anyway, and he does clear a stress with that. Stays all up in the way. Muse attempting the sloop. Oh, and it fits!
Oh, man. Clutch.
Proud tradition, allowing him to take the focus. So he is ready to just light Nomlum up.
Yes,
Nomlum's pretty happy about that, to be honest. He'd like to get his primary weapon into the fight, and Dengar crew doesn't hurt any.
Absolutely. Now that's curious doing the barrel roll here. I don't know if that buys him a whole lot of favors. I think it would have been better to kind of keep his distance that way to bring that 2 hard in and know for certain that you'll have.
I mean,
your gun to
looking
bear.
at it, I'm pretty sure the 2 hard clears the asteroid. But yeah, I see what you're saying about bringing that 2 hard in. Maybe puts him a little too close to the action, and he might miss his getting arc on something next round.
I mean, then again, we are thinking about this in strictly a 1 arc world. I mean, he can just 1 bank away. No big deal.
That's true. So here we are.
Okay, and Josh there doing the
Yep. K-turn. He's got to get some arc in there, especially, he's down to 2 ships versus 5. He has got to generate extra damage wherever he can. And so, but he's still got that combo of Dengar crew proccing damage outside of attack, allowing Jostero to fire twice in a round.
Absolutely.
Looks like he's triggering cybernetics on Jostero. This is the last cybernetics of the game available to him in order to get modification.
Oh, that's a surprise.
Now, unfortunately, Jostero will not be able to shoot at Hollow twice because Hollow's not going to be able to fire at Nomlum to trigger Dengar. So it is a juicy target here to shoot into Hollow, and we'll just have to see how that goes. So
because Hollow could just bleed out half points instantly. That's just how it works.
Absolutely. And then once Hollow gets down to really low health, Hollow never wants to shoot at Nomlum again because he's got that that Dengar there to threaten him.
Yep. So yeah, this is probably the round where you just try to dogpile on Nomlom. Just try to make the weight of your dice do something.
So we got a range 2 unmodified shot out of Hollow into Jostero.
That's fine. Take away the temptation to spend the focus that you desperately want for defense. That you don't have. Too bad. A dramatic pause falls over the game as we get ready for Scott to roll his dice. There we go. Ah, perfectly
And
average. One hit.
definitely would have been tempting to spend that focus on this.
Mm-hmm.
And one evade, so Jostero is safe.
You want to be above the craven temptations of life. So, isn't it best to not have the focus, to not be tempted to use the focus?
It's better to not have had than to have used in vain.
Indeed.
So looks like we are taking range 2 into Hollow. It's going to be 3 reds into 3 greens with a focus on the attack.
This is probably his best opportunity to lay into Hollow that he's going to get this game. Because after this, if Hollow's still around, it's proud tradition. That's
And there it is. So that is definitely where you want to have that focus token for spending.
Yep.
So 2 hits and a crit coming into an unmodified 3 green die defense. Oh!
This could be the end of Hollow. He could actually take him out completely now.
Absolutely. And this is why you never want Hollow to take shots. And that is Hull Breach.
Well, you don't care about that crit, but
Not,
man, he is hanging on by the skin of his teeth. You know what I bet Hollow never does this game? I bet he never shoots at Nom Nom.
Never shoots at Nomlum, yeah. Now,
Yep.
Nomlum or Dengar Crew can be negated by spending a green token, the same way Tyranny Cold extra damage can. But even so, you know, that one focus token that Hollow gets is very precious.
And we've got Apostasis in the chat. I'm probably saying that wrong. Asking about the shields on the side of the table. Those are turn markers. That's correct. So we're doing 12 turns for these matches in the Barons League. So that's how they're counting it down.
Looks like that is 1 damage on Jostero coming in from Muse. Taking out the shield. Oh, looks like nicking by a pixel. We've got just range 3 from yellow into Jostero.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate this, but I really thought this was going to be the turn where he was just going to try to take half off of Nominal. That's absolutely something that
looks like the automatic rangefinder disagrees.
Oh.
And did not light up the shot to Jostero.
All right. Well, I guess meat's back on the menu.
So that's going to be 3 dice into Nom. Which means Nomlum is going to have options for shooting this round.
True.
Scott deciding whether he wants to spend the focus and decides against it.
Huh.
Nomlum takes 1 damage for that. Because Nomlum is going to move his arc to the back, and Scott doesn't want to leave the yellow SF open to being taken off the table this round.
I mean, that's certainly a possibility, but I don't know. I think you have to lean into your aggression. That's a little risk averse for my taste, but
Oh,
I
there it
mean,
is. He spent that on the Dengar charge.
ah,
So he was saving that for Dengar.
gotcha. All right, shots coming in. Consistency. 2 hits.
So this is
Nope,
either green or red into
just black.
Jostero. So 1 more damage there. Now checking on green's options. Deciding whether he wants to shoot at Nomlum to pull the arc back away, and he does. Question
Clever.
is, will that be enough?
I
Because
don't think
he
so.
only pulled it to the side.
That's a good shot, nonetheless.
Indeed. And looks like 1 evade for a hit crit, or rather 2 shields on Nomlum. So that is shields down on the Jumpmaster. Now checking what options he has out of that side arc. Front arc options are range 2 on green or red.
Now, the thing to consider here is Auto Blaster will not save you even if your indicator is pointed to the back.
So Auto Blaster only cares about the front arc, not what arcs are firing arcs.
Indeed.
So that's if crits are rolled, they will be uncancelable. Unfortunately for Zeke, the 2 ships in that front arc have not sustained significant damage.
Right. But I think we're about to find out that yellow is still within that arc.
Yep. So
That's
we're
a
seeing that here range 1 into yellow is an option out the side arc.
Now the question here, and because I think actually the correct choice, that might be Muse. Well, no, hang on. No, you go into yellow. My bad.
Let's see. Scott's prepared to roll 3 greens.
Yeah.
So that would be Muse if he's rolling 3 greens.
Yeah.
So yep, Muse
Trying
defends
to count the points.
and takes 1 damage.
Not enough. Not to have. But yeah, the points are really similar between half of Muse and the rest of that yellow survivor. They're pretty close in the count.
Yeah, well, they're identical. In fact, the SFs are each 36, and Muse is 36.
Ah, there you go.
So the issue is here that in the following turn, I mean, you're unlikely to actually kill the SF in 1 shot here because
Right.
it still has 3 hull. But in the following turn, that yellow SF is going to drift away, right? And
Right.
Muse is going to continue to approach. So you're more likely to be able to have a follow-up shot on Muse to finish the job than you would on the yellow SF.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so more than likely, you've got red survivors probably doing a 1 bank, just maintaining a wide sweeping arc. He'll have pick of the litter right here. Probably looking at with green survivor, probably doing it too hard to the right. I would imagine that keeps your options fairly open there. And then, as we're saying with survivor 2, the yellow survivor, he's probably just one bank, one direction or the other. He's doing his best. I like possibly the one bank to the right because I think that gets him into action faster. But yeah, he's probably going to get diminishing returns for the next couple rounds with him. But everybody else is still pretty much in it. I mean, Hollow's hanging on by the skin of her teeth. Um, it's going to be very interesting to see how that works. Uh, I would not be surprised. Well, the only problem with that is if Nomlum comes in to block, that it's not necessarily something that he can capitalize on because Jostera is not in a position to capitalize on. So you may just want to go ahead and just follow up behind Zeta 3. Keep your gun, keep your options open, uh, and hope against hope that Hollow makes a mental mistake and takes a shot at you, which that's really unlikely. Now, the one other thing to consider, and this is too risky. Well, we're getting into it, so we'll can that for later. So we've got Nom coming in, doing the one bank. Looks like we are finally going to get an action.
Yep, stress-free at last.
You can do whatever you want, except go to Disney World because they're closed.
Looks like we're taking advantage of the linked focus rotate action.
I don't hate it because I mean, obviously, his follow-up maneuver is going to be that one bank,
Yep.
so that's fine. Huh. Okay, that's cute. So we got crisscrossing two bank or two hards over here.
See a
And just
barrel roll
want
coming.
to, yeah. No, just run over the asteroid, make us look bad. I want to give a big shout out to everybody in the chat watching the live stream. Hope everybody's having a good time with it. So has it been a pretty enjoyable league for you so far, Joel?
It has. I've enjoyed, taking the time to schedule a match one night out of the week. Not getting to go to the game store and play. This has been a really a great sort of substitute. Where it kind of feels like I have that one evening that I'm dedicating to this hobby, and it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Oh, now this is a bad position for Justero to be in, and I mean, he had to have known that this was coming in some way, shape, or form. But man, he's definitely gonna feel this in the morning, getting sandwiched between two range one shots.
Yeah. Now, Jostro is going to have potentially the opportunity to clear Muse, depending on whether or not he has Arc there, before Muse gets to fire.
Don't think that's gonna happen, but we're gonna see.
So here we have the range one out of Hollow into Jostro. Ooh, and coming up money again. Spending that focus for 4 hits. Jostro nattying out, only 2 damage makes it through. So he lives to continue the fight.
Man, those Kyrex just have so much health now.
Oh, looks like the automatic rangefinder does not find Muse in range. So we're looking at range 2 shots at either red or green.
Okay,
Coming in
it
with
looks
1
like
hit. And evaded handily.
animated. Mm.
So this is an interesting choice, whether or not he decides to fire at Nomlum, and he does. Taking the range 3 shot with no mods, 1 hit showing. Nomlun defending with 3 greens. And gets an evade. So looking at Dengar, there's no range restriction on that, so he has the opportunity to deal a damage here. Looks like maybe he did not flip the charge back up from the previous round.
Yeah, it looks like that's the case. Either way, no consequences.
Yep.
So
it looks like green firing range 1 into Nomlum.
no reason not to. He's getting shot whether he wants to.
I think that's an unnecessary spin of Nomlum's arc there, as he already had green in his side arc. Coming up, hit crit. Spending that force for hit crit. And 1 evade. So hit crit into Nomlum.
Oh no. He spent so long clearing that stress.
For panicked pilot. Oh.
Poor Nomlum. And that was the last action he ever took, his first.
And I think what we're seeing here is just kind of the snowball effect that you get from 2 jousty lists meeting each other, and one of them getting a really good exchange on the opening, and then the rest of the game is just kind of a grind as you arrive at the conclusion that almost feels predetermined.
Right, because I mean, after the first engagement, I mean, we had a really strong lead indicator as far as how the tone of this game was going to be. And I mean, it's only been amplified by the decisions that were made in those previous rounds of combat. So you do have that just it builds on something and it feels very foregone. And I mean, I don't like that when it happens that way. I know a lot of people also probably don't. I mean, we like a little bit of entropy in these games. And I'm not saying there's not. There is plenty of that going on. But like in this type of a matchup, you are apt to kind of see that happen to where you have that engagement and it kind of pushes in this direction. And you just see the momentum happening before your eyes.
Yeah.
But you've still got to go through all the permutations to reach that like almost foregone conclusion.
So we have 2 SFs on exactly half. We have Muse with 3 hull left. We have Hollow with 1 hull left. So there's a lot of stuff ready for the taking. The question is, how much can Zeke take before just the weight of fire overwhelms him, I think.
Absolutely.
And if he can arrange situations where fewer of Scott's ships have shots on him, then he can start taking and not giving up so much in return. So, for instance, this round, Yellow SF is going to drift out of the fight. He doesn't really have any option. So if Zeke can arrange to block up the green SF perhaps with Nomlum, then that's 1 less shot Nomlum is going to be taking, and he can trade fire with fewer opponents. It's these kinds of hugging, taking a hostage and shooting everybody else kind of approach that is where you've got to go to try to even up the odds.
Yeah. I would not be surprised to see Muse do a 4K in this situation. It looks like there's just enough spacing to allow that.
Yeah, I think that really depends on whether he wants that shot on Jostro or he wants it on Namlam.
Justro's right there. So close to just finishing the job. But I mean, with how good the chassis is and with how good Muse's ability is, I don't ever feel comfortable putting money on where Muse is going to be.
Yeah. So it looks like Muse trying for the 2 sloop does not make it work. Can't pull that miracle twice in a row.
Getting complimented for our metaphors in chat. Well, thank you. I have the best metaphors, the biggest metaphors, huge, tremendous metaphors.
Huge. Everybody says so.
Yeah, it's like a simile, but it's a metaphor.
So we have an arc dodge out of Jostro. Very nice.
Ooh.
The question is, which target does Hollow decide to go after? Oh, there we go. Splitting the difference, but going to have to reposition if he wants a shot at Jostro this turn. And if he fires at Namlam, then he's going to be incurring the wrath of Dengar.
Yeah, that's ooh. So taking a deplete and barrel roll. Oh yeah, that's the better choice. And then suddenly Muse probably gets a deplete.
Yep.
Yeah.
There it is. Muse not firing this round anyway.
Stress, what stress?
Yep. And that really, like, the following turn, Muse had the option to do the 2 sloop again. But carrying that deplete around really makes the 2 hard seem more likely for a follow-up.
Right.
So here we have range 1 into Jostro from Hollow. 3 dice into 2. No, 4 dice rather. It's almost like Hollow can't roll a blank on offense. This has been pretty phenomenal.
Very fire dice, absolutely. So we'll see. Need all paint or all squiggles, I should say. And that is not all squiggles.
Now 2 more into Jostro finishes him off.
Yeah. Well, now Hollow has contributed exactly all Hollow will contribute to the rest of the game because Hollow is going to go find a nice quiet corner of the map and will never be heard from again.
Does not want to incur the wrath of Dengar. Now, if
Absolutely not.
Hollow manages to hang around and get into a position for a finishing shot on Namlam, then that may be an acceptable risk.
Well, here's the other thing, and again, we talk about how many permutations of economy and support that Hollow brings to the table. Hollow can now be your support. You can just throw actions to other ships.
Absolutely. Now you are limited somewhat in range, but regardless, that is a very excellent amount of flexibility. Hull breach crit coming into Namlam.
Oh, yeah, that's the dagger.
With 3 hull remaining.
So we are probably, and he's still got 2 stress. Yeah, we're probably at this point going to be looking at a dead Namlam next round.
Yeah. Red Zeta Survivor still has a shot, or not taking it. Oh no, that was spending the focus for the Dengar revenge.
Nah.
Now Red Zeta Survivor firing. Any damage that comes through will be critical.
Oof.
Spends the focus for 2.
Just consistency.
And no
And squiggle.
damage.
Save the day. Boy, you want to talk about a death spiral, though? You want to see this this one bank coming from green 3 this next turn, and the one bank that, well, Nom wants to live, so Nom's probably going to force the ball mad. You would. So that's bad. Although the problem with thinking that, and again, this is we're thinking in a one arc world, is he doesn't have to do that at all. He can just go ahead and do it too hard, and if you overcommit and jump in, then you're fried at range 1. There's so many ways to get got by SFs.
Yep. So Auto Blaster shot out the front, range 2 into the green SF, rolls 1 crit, not blockable because it's outside of the front arc, takes a damage sensor array on green.
That's a shame. Scott is elected not to roll his defense dice out of deck, and we'll just go ahead and take the crit.
So coming
Okay,
up for this follow-up, there's really just not a lot of options for Zeke. You know, he's got to clear that stress, but he's only got 3 hull left. There's not really anywhere for him to go. He's bunched up in the corner. I think we're going to see a series of 1 banks out of him for the next couple of turns, and just a hope and a prayer that he can hold on to his 3 hull for just a little while longer than Scott thinks that he can.
Absolutely. And there we go. Trying to close the distance as best he can.
Oh,
Get rid of that stress.
There we see that 3 bank trying to jump over the SF, not quite making it.
Yep.
Scott trying to close back in the net as quickly as he can. Oh, and there's that 2 sloop anyway. Who cares if I only throw 1 dice at you? I'm going to look at you.
Yeah, Muse is ridiculous. I love it.
That 1 straight out of green. Perfect
So
position to
good.
fire back. Even
Yep.
with that damage sensor array, he only wanted to focus anyway.
Absolutely. Now's your golden opportunity to give your friend a target lock, although he's probably not in range. Sad.
Well, you can't put a lock on Nom Lum and then give it to your friend because there's only the red lock token. And that...
Oh, don't you quote those silly rules at me. Yeah, that might have been out of sequence, but next turn, you can give your buddy a focus. That'd be nice. He'll appreciate it. Oh, we're gonna take the locking.
All right, looks like we're gonna be aggressive here. So he is basically firing with only a lock here because he has to keep the focus to negate the Dengar crew.
Yep. I think Scott wants to be back in time for supper.
Let's just end this. All right, range 2 coming in Nomlum. 3 into 2.
Yep.
And if Hollow throws dice with his customary fire, this could be another couple of crits.
Well, not with that attitude you want,
No.
but let's go ahead and try to spend that lock for some extra magic.
And
That's
here
potentially
is
2 crits right there.
Ooh. All right, nope, does not spin the focus. Only 2, and 1 makes it through.
Don't be hasty. No need. Structural damage.
Ooh.
His buddy over here will appreciate that.
So then the deluge of initiative 2 shots.
I think there's only going to be 1. I think everybody else is going to be just out of range.
Well, that would be good news for Zeke for sure.
Absolutely. But man, that range 1 is gonna hurt.
Yeah. It looks like he's
And the worst
debating the Dengar use, because if green fires next, green may very well pull that arc away. Yep, looks like he has decided not to use Dengar. And will instead be able to use Dengar against green to ensure extra damage.
Yep.
Or at least ensure that green can't spend his focus on offense or results in extra damage.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point, if you're Scott, you just go ahead and take that haymaker on the chin.
So range 1 out of green.
Oof.
Ooh, spins that focus for 2 hits and a crit.
That is all she wrote.
Oh, yep, and there it is.
Let's see that crit chain. All eyes turn to the table.
Damage
Loose
sensor,
stabilizer.
loose stabilizer, structural damage again. And that is all she wrote. So let's go ahead and see if we can get a reaction from the...
A disgusted Zeke throws all of his tokens off into space. That's the kind of class that we like to see in this channel.
So I've got Scott and Zeke in stream audio now. Congratulations, Scott, on your victory in Week 5 of League of Barons.
Thank you.
And so what was your initial approach to the fight? It kind of looked like you just had a basic, block and pincer maneuver. Did you have any particular expectations for how Zeke was going to come around?
Not exactly. I knew the Zeke was going to try to get up in my business. Thus,
Hey,
triggering...
there we go.
Oh, okay. Oh, Zeke.
No, go on.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I knew that the Zeke was gonna, try to run up and jam itself right into my business, triggering Justero. I was hoping to get a little more fanned out to prevent the cluster missile, which I inadvertently did.
Right.
But yeah, it was just try to draw him in and kill his Justero triggering pieces as fast as possible.
Absolutely, that's very sound. And I did want to go over just the flexibility of the SF chassis and really how that's instrumental to your game plan and kind of bending and not breaking in that joust situation and just the raw efficiency of power that you're able to to kind of offset a lot of these nasty toys that the scum list has brought into bear nest.
Yeah, I have a long history with RZ2s, so I'm used to the shoot past them and hit them with the back arc kind of gameplay. And you
Hey, there
hear
we go.
Zeke? There we go. Welcome
Third
back.
time's a charm.
Yeah.
We
Anyway,
did it.
but anyway, the SFs have a similar kind of style of I'm going to joust for a little bit and then I'm going to kind of veer off and shoot you out the butt. But the trade-off of zippy and agile with the higher health has been interesting to get used to, and so far so good.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So,
Um,
so no, you
you
take
go
it.
ahead.
You take it.
Zeke, we were talking on the run up to the initial engagement. There was sort of this butterfly effect moment that you had where Nam Lom turned his gun, and I wanted to go back to that particular moment and just kind of see like where your mind was in that particular engagement, and then how that influenced you through the rest of the game.
So it didn't really do too much. I knew I had auto blasters at the front if Muse turned in. But if Muse shot off, then I still had him. But I mean, it really wasn't too bad. Again, just because I had auto blasters. Like, I knew I was putting it over there. I think Nomlub still shot every round. So it wasn't really too big. It was, I mean, I knew he wasn't going to shoot at him.
Right.
So, I mean, it was really just to cover and escape if, I'm trying to remember, maybe if Hollow flew off because I wasn't 100% sure. I think because Hollow, instead of Hollow going straight, like he did like the one hard and then rolled over. So it was really just to cover escapes from Muse or Hollow. Just because I knew I had the auto blasters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But honestly, I felt the engagement was right. I put Gargor exactly where I wanted him. I put Tarani and Justero right behind. Like I had everything lined up. Gargor dying before shooting at all was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Off of two die guns with 3 agility, taking 4 damage. I mean, I know the direct hit, but still.
Yeah,
Right.
the direct hit sealing it was pretty crazy.
And then I lost Tarani 2 turns later. Justero didn't last too much longer. I mean, it really, and I mean, I don't want to blame it because it was great positioning by Scott, but like, it felt I had the engagement I wanted. I had Nomlub where I wanted him to cover the escapes with the auto blasters. I had the rest of my list right where I wanted it. I got the cluster missiles trigger. I had one Tarani trigger. I mean, like Justera. I mean, everything lined up right. It's just sometimes the die. I mean, it really is. I mean, Scott rolled all hits and I rolled all blanks. I mean, that's what it felt like.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it goes to that whole thing that a lot of people don't like to confront, but you kind of have to. You can do everything correct in this game, and you can still lose.
Right. And I
The way
think
that the
it's just
dice
because it's
were,
Scott, because I've never beaten Scott ever, I don't think, no matter what he flies or what I fly. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you do everything right and the dice just don't agree with you.
absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, I think we were all kind of looking once Scott did the one bank to bring Hollow right into the mix of these 4 guns. I was just like, well, bye.
Yeah.
I mean, it turned out to be not bad at all for him. So I mean, that worked out.
Right.
But that could have
I
very
did plenty
easily
of
not.
damage. Yeah. I mean, I stripped
Yeah.
shields on everything except for that. That red was untouched, but I stripped shields on the other. I almost killed Hollow.
Oh yeah.
I had Muse down to shieldless. I mean, honestly, it wasn't that bad, except for I just lost too many ships too quick. If I would have had maybe Tarani, if Gargoyle would have, because Gargoyle would have had an auto blaster shot with Hollow in Bullseye.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would have been 3 dice. I'm not saying I would have killed Hollow, obviously, but like,
You definitely had him worried.
Six are supposed to live with 3 dice, and then he just died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and that's
I was doing the numbers real quick on the X-Wing dice calculator website, and with I think one of the SFs didn't have Gargor in his arc, so looking at 3 shots with a focus and optics plus a at least half modded shot off of Hollow into Gargor, to deal 4 damage straight up, you're only looking at that happening about 25% of the time. Like, it's not likely, but it's also not unheard of. But what actually happened was 3 damage straight up, which is about a 50-50 that'll happen.
Mhm.
And then there's like a 5.5% chance that you pull a crit in there.
Right.
And then, whatever the conversion rate is into that actually dealing the extra damage there. So it wasn't a likely scenario for sure.
right. But and that's the thing. Like Gargor's not supposed to live long, but Gargor's at least supposed to get 1 shot. And then, the next turn to 1 hard in to try to start some shenanigans, obviously. But even then, like, it was 33 points, I think, maybe, just gone. Like, just didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those things that happens. I mean, it does. Because I've flown basically this list before, and I think I still, like, it was just a lot closer. Like, sometimes, and 6, sometimes they live. There's 3 agility can just live sometimes.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Any sort of 3 agility low hull ship, like, especially if it's cheap, it always feels like it takes too much killing.
Right.
But then when you fly it, and you're like, oh, this just dies. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
I'm not meant to have ships with over 1 agility. I think that's what it is. I think I betrayed it. I had too many. I had made too many 2 agility tonight.
Have you tried ships with 0 agility?
No, yes, actually once I did fly Rack Whisper in 1.0.
Yeah.
No,
You should try it again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Zeke, for coming on and playing a great game and talking to us.
Yeah, I think this might be y'all's shortest game, so that's a plus.
Yeah, well, I mean, I commentating on your games, they always end before time. Playing my own, they always go the full 12 rounds. I don't know what the...
I don't
clearly,
know if that says something about me or you.
I don't know. I clearly need to be doing something different. But Scott, congratulations on your win. Thanks again for coming on the stream.
Yes, good job, Scott.
And since I'm the only one left here, I shall flip the table.
There we go. We finally got a good table flip. I appreciate it.
All right. Well,
thanks, guys.
All right. So that is good night from me and good night from Charlie.
Good night.
And we'll see you next week.